You're gonna flip over this one. I mean, literally gonna flip. You gotta make this for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. This delicious egg, potato, and onion dish is great any time of the day. Welcome to Lawyer in the Kitchen. Today, we're gonna make a very simple dish. Takes a little bit of time, not much, but it's easy to do. It's called Tortilla Española. And this is a great dish. It's simple. I mean, it has, listen, are you ready for these ingredients? A dozen eggs, a pound of red potatoes, 1 large white onion, and a couple cloves of garlic, some olive oil, and some salt. That's it. That's all there is to it. The cooking technique is important because we're going to cook this thing in the pan, and we're going to, this would be a one-pan dish, except I made this the other night, and I didn't like cooking the potatoes with the onions because it made the onions cooked too long, in my opinion. I'm using a full dozen because I'm using a 12-inch pan. If you've got a 10-inch non-stick skillet, then I would use 8 eggs for that. We're going to cut this onion up. And I finally got my garbage can in a good place because Lord knows everybody's giving me junk about my garbage can. All right, so we're going to cut this in half. I'm going to get a bowl. I've got this on here pretty thin right now, or pretty thinly. Listen, if you use a mandolin, they make gloves for these things, okay? So you got 2 choices. Either put the glove on or make sure when you get anywhere near down to that blade that you stop doing it, because it'll go fast and you won't realize it. And then all of a sudden, you got stuff to clean out of your onions. If you're cutting it like onion rings, then you should do, what's this thing? What was it called? The equator. You cut it on the equator, okay? Is that longitude or latitude? That's latitude. Isn't that latitude? The equator is latitude, yeah, if you get that right. I thought you were trying to get me to hawk your video. And I'm gonna cook the onions first. And we're gonna go ahead and finish these off. And you can cut yourself with this knife too, so obviously be careful. And I'm going to go ahead and put those in the pan. Now, we're going to use a lot of olive oil. We're going to use 2 or 3 cups of olive oil. And I made this dish the other night, and it's almost like a sourdough starter. You can save this oil for a while, which is what I have done. It'd be better to have it in a jar. We just don't have a jar. If you could smell this, I made this dish the other night with this oil, and this was what was left, and it already has an incredible taste to it and smell. And that's all we're gonna do to this. We're just gonna take that skin off, and it's gonna cook long enough. This is gonna cook about 20 minutes on very low heat. Okay, these will be easier to cut by hand because otherwise I'll be chopping my fingers off. So we want these to be about 1/8 of an inch. It's gonna take a little bit of time to do this. You could get bigger potatoes, but I like them. I just like the little ones like this. You could start your onions and put them on low, and you could take all this time and not waste it. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I don't want to waste this time. So I'm going to go ahead and put these onions on the stove on low, and then I'll finish them when we get. And that's about high enough right there. We're really going to cook this low and slow. All right. And the only other thing we need in here is some salt. And so now it doesn't matter how long it takes to cut up these potatoes because we got something going on. Tortilla Española. Now you may be wondering where the tortilla is. In Mexico, a tortilla is a flat pancake of flour or corn. That's what everybody thinks of when they think of tortilla. But in Spain, tortilla means a thick omelet with potatoes. And it's really nothing else but that. And the history of this Spanish dish goes back to a couple of things that no one ever agrees on. One person believes, or some people believe, that this Tortilla Española came from a surprise visit from a general to a poor Navarre housewife, and she just cobbled together this dish, and all she had was eggs, potatoes, and onion. Now, the onion part doesn't sound legitimate to me because there's really this, for an authentic Spanish omelet, it's just potatoes and eggs. This first came from the area in western Spain, bordering Portugal, called the Extremadura. And that's where the first great conquerors of Spain came from. And interestingly, the Spanish brought potatoes back from America, and they weren't popular at all at first. And in fact, it wasn't until about the 17th century that they were actually sold in Madrid. And during the 1800s, they became popularized, and because they were very helpful in avoiding famine. But this is a great dish. It's simple, and you're going to see the ingredients are virtually just a few things. Okay, so our onions have cooked for about 5 minutes, and they're doing fine. Potatoes are ready. Going to go ahead and get the eggs. We're going to use 12 eggs because I got a 12-inch skillet. Now, I realize it doesn't work out the same to go for a 10-inch skillet. A lot of people have 10-inch skillets, and you should use about 8 eggs for that. And this may be too much. I don't know. I don't think so. So the question is, though, we're going to put the salt in them now. And I think not. I'm going to put them in just before I pour the egg into the mixture. But I'm going to go ahead and get these out, let them warm up, get closer to room temperature, and then we're going to add the salt. The people who think salt should go in sooner thinks that's better because then the salt will moisturize and turn in, from the crystals into the salt and be all mixed thoroughly into the egg. And we want this pretty low. This pot will not, or this skillet will not cook near as well as that other one. So we'll probably have to adjust that down after I get it warm. All right, so we got the potatoes in here. Nice little bit of salt. And as soon as it starts to cook, I'll be stirring them around. I'm going to turn this down as I did, and I'm going to go ahead and cover it because I really don't want to brown these potatoes. I want to get them nice and creamy. So we're going to cover them. Okay, our onions have cooked for a full 20 minutes, and I want you to look at these very carefully because you can see, look, they have not caramelized, but they're cooked down. It's just 20 minutes, barely, just on very low heat, but they're boiling in the oil. And now we're going to drain them. There's a couple of them got a little brown to them, but they're pretty much just a little yellow. Now we're going to do the same thing with our potatoes. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to save this oil too. All right. Now, we want that to cool down because I don't want to scramble the eggs right off the bat. Let's go ahead and put the salt in those eggs. Oh, I found the fork. I did. I found the fork. There we go. Yeah. I knew I had a fork in there. So this oil is cleared out pretty nicely. And I'm just going to move this around some so they cool this down a little bit more. Mix it up a little bit better. We are going to mix all this in. Okay, that's probably pretty good right there. All right, we're going to stir this in right away so we don't start cooking the eggs.
Ooh, that oil smells good.
That oil is good. And you use a good amount of oil on this. We still want to have this on low though. So we're going to put it right about down here. We want this to cook nice and slowly and make it nice and thick. Hopefully this will fit in. If it doesn't, we will definitely not put all of it in there. Oh, this is going to be just fine. Okay, this has been about 5 minutes. We're making sure that the edges aren't stuck. And we're getting ready to flip this thing. It looks pretty good. We're going to flip it even though it's still wet on top. Now this could be a mess. So we're just going to put a plate that is bigger than our skillet, or at least big enough to sit on top of the thing. And do this like that. That's hot. Oh no, this is not good. Oh, God. That is not good. We're going to cook this a little bit longer. Test number 2 here on this. I'm going to cook it. It's still wet on top, but we want it to be wet on top. So we're going to get a little bit of that egg. And we're going to try flipping this again, but this looks like it's much more together. There we go. There we go. Okay, so we're going to flip it again. Look at that. Isn't that nice? I'm going to let this cook just a couple more seconds. And I think that is done. And there we go. There is a tortilla española. So how should I cut this? I know I want to cut it pizza-like. Okay, so we're going to cut it like this. And I'm hoping this stays together. Oh, look at that. I think that looks nice. Let's put a few onions on her. Just for some color. Oh, it's so creamy. The potatoes are so creamy. You can taste the onions, the egg's great. This is tasty.
Oh, I almost inhaled that potato.
Isn't that good? It's creamy. It's better than I made the first one. I like these potatoes better. I made sure that the onions did not get caramelized. I cooked them very low and cooked them for 20 minutes, and that made it whole. The whole thing is a creamy taste to it with the egg. Yeah. The egg's cooked perfectly. It's just tasty.
That is very good.
Hey, if you like this video, I appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe. And if you comment, I'll respond to you. And if you make this dish or any other of my dishes, post a picture and I may put it on one of our videos. And I'll see you next time
On Lawyer in the Kitchen.
on Lawyer in the Kitchen.